The World Athletics Championship will be commencing today in Oregon, USA. It will go on until 24 July 2022. Anju Bobby George remains the only Indian to bag a medal at the Worlds. The long jumper won a bronze at Paris in 2003. Since then, India has not won a single medal. Can India bag a medal this time around? With Neeraj Chopra in the men's javelin throw event, there is a possibility that the Olympic gold winner could break the deadlock for the Indians after 2 decades. Hello and welcome to News 9 Special. I am Hardik Agrawal and today I am being joined by Sundeep Misra and Amit Kamath. Sundeep, we will first talk about Avinash Sable, but News9 Sports had an interview with Sable before he went for the World Athletic Championship. So let's have a look at that interview.
ट्रेनिंग तो मतलब अभी बहुत अच्छी लग रहा है। पिछले मतलब अप्रैल में मैं आया था, अप्रैल के मिडल में, तो अभी 3 महीने हो गए, मतलब 3 महीने से ज़्यादा भी हुए। तो मतलब पहले के मुकाबले मतलब बहुत अच्छा फिटनेस है जब मैं यहाँ पे आया था, और इनके साथ ट्रेनिंग करके मतलब बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिला। और मतलब जैसे मैं इंडिया में ट्रेनिंग करता था तो अकेले करनी पड़ती थी, लेकिन यहाँ आके मुझे मेरे मतलब साथ करने वाले ट्रेनिंग पार्टनर मिले, तो काफ़ी सुधार हुआ है। तैयारी तो मेडल की है, और बाकी वो मतलब उस दिन पे निर्भर करता है कि हम अपना कितना बेस्ट देते हैं और बाकी एथलीट कितना बेस्ट देते हैं। लेकिन जहाँ तक है मतलब कॉन्फिडेंट है कि हमारी ट्रेनिंग मतलब काफ़ी अच्छी है, और मतलब इतना तो है कि मतलब हाँ, फाइनल तो हम मतलब इजी पहुंच जाएंगे, और देखो फाइनल में मेडल के लिए फाइट करेंगे। जो ट्रेनिंग का फिटनेस है, तो मतलब जो पिछले 1-2 वीक से मतलब ऐसे लग रहा है कि हाँ मतलब 8-5 भी ब्रेक हो जाएगा। मतलब 8-5 का तो मतलब उससे फास्ट भी हो सकता है, लेकिन 8-5 तो होना ही चाहिए। तो उस हिसाब से लगता है कि हाँ, मेडल के लिए हम फाइट करनी चाहिए। और बाकी देखो उस दिन के ऊपर है, लेकिन जहाँ तक ये है आज का वर्कआउट भी मतलब अभी आज लास्ट वर्कआउट था, मतलब इसके बाद भी एक वर्कआउट है, लेकिन अच्छा लग रहा है। मतलब फिटनेस रिकवर भी हो रहे हैं, और जो मतलब सब कुछ मिला के जैसे हमने पिछले वर्ल्ड चैम्पियनशिप में मैं गया था, तो उस टाइम पे मेरा 28 बेस्ट था, तो तब भी मैं मतलब वहाँ पे जाके अच्छा किया था। लेकिन इस बार तो काफ़ी अच्छे ग्रुप के साथ ट्रेनिंग की है, तो मुझे लगता है कि हाँ, मैं वर्ल्ड चैम्पियनशिप में मतलब बहुत अच्छी उम्मीद है। और देखो मतलब कोशिश तो मेडल की रहेगी। बाकी उस दिन
आपका पहले दिन है क्वालिफिकेशन?
हाँ, 15 को ही है,
और
18 को ये है।
हाँ, तो इसका मतलब आप नीरज से पहले मेडल जीत जाएंगे।
देखो कोशिश तो है इंडिया की तरफ से। मतलब देखो इंडिया के लिए मतलब रनिंग इवेंट में अगर जो भी ये होता है।
Sandeep, Avinash Sable will be up against the likes of Kenyan athlete Benjamin Kichen in the Heat 3 of 3,000 meters steeplechase. How tough is it going to be for Sable?
No, it's very tough, but it's a good interview. I mean, like, if the moment you see an athlete happy, the moment, and especially in training areas, and he's in Colorado and he's laughing when you speak to him about a medal, I think that's what Navneet, the person who's done the interview, says there. The confidence is there. I mean, 8-12, but the main thing is getting past the qualification. He's ranked 16 at this moment. I don't think the qualification will be that tough for him because he's prepared well, and you look at the kind of running he's done over the last year. then that shows a graph that's not only going up, it's going steeply up, you know, it's like really good out there. So for him, like he says, it also depends on the day. It also depends on, and understand that 3000 steeplechase is not the 5 or the 10,000. It's a highly technical event. It requires a huge amount of endurance. And then you have the hurdles, you have the water jumps. All of that requires a certain amount of rhythm for an athlete. And if you watch Kenyans who actually dominated this event for so long, almost for 2 to 3 decades, you would see the rhythm in them. And that's what I think Sable needs to establish by running behind 3 to 4 or probably 5 in that pack and sticking close. There's only one example I can probably think of here is 2017 World Championships, Lakshmanan. And before he ran that final, he actually said that I'm going to stick to the inside and I'll just stick there and I'll keep doing my laps. I'm not bothered who's going to be finishing at the top, who's going to be finishing at the bottom, you know. He stuck there and he probably ran his best race ever. Of course, he was not on the podium because that was a race where Mo Farah and all of them were running. It was a huge race in that sense. So looking at all of those factors, looking at the confidence of Sable in the interview, I think we just might see something spectacular, and if that will be good for Indian athletics, let's put it that way. It's not only Neeraj Chopra, then you have somebody who's willing to climb up and figure out there, you know, and he's ambitious, which is fantastic.
Certainly, Sundeep, Sable has the potential and he might be able to help India to win a medal. Moving on to 20 kilometers race walk final, Amit and Priyanka Goswami will be representing India in the women's segment. So, Goswami has a personal best of 1 hour 28 minutes and 45 seconds, Amit, and it is quite close to second ranked Jamima Montag's record of 1 hour 27 minutes and 27 seconds. So, can Goswami give a good competition?
I think the one thing we need to understand about Priyanka Goswami is, first of all, she's just 26. So, some of her best years are still ahead of her. But more importantly, you know, the personal best of Priyanka that you spoke about, that I think it came a while back. Her personal best is somewhere around 1:26:45, if I'm not mistaken. But her season best, if you look at, it's much further. It's around 1:38:10, which is almost like a 10-minute gap from her own personal best. So expecting her to be on the podium or you know, those sorts of things is still going to be a little bit of is still asking a lot from her. But for an athlete like Priyanka, these races are not about finishing at the podium. These races are just about getting big game experience.
Amit, I just wanted to check with you. You've been doing a decent amount of work on Sable. You've spoken to him. You've been actually tracking him. What do you feel are the challenges for him coming into a qualifying and then, you know, then going on to the final? What are the challenges that he just might face there?
For today, at least for the challenge, as far as the challenge goes, it's just to stick to you know, the first field, and because it's the steeplechase, as you mentioned, it's a very complicated, tricky event where anything can go wrong. The person running next to you might trip and take you down with him. Those sorts of things keep happening. And with Avinash, the bigger problem is that when he trains, he's usually so leaps and bounds ahead of the pack that he's not fazed by whatever is happening behind him. Even if there are trips and tumbles happening on the track, he's usually much ahead of the pack by the time these things keep happening. So for him now, it's going to be a lot about running in tandem with these big guys. So today, in the semi-finals and the heats and all of these events, for him, it's all about getting out unscathed, you know, unfazed. Once he goes into the finals, then it's a different ball game altogether. As you mentioned, he has to just stick on the coattails of the big guys, and then who knows on the day of the race what happens. If you remember at Doha 2019, the gold medal was decided by a photo finish. And when was the last time we heard about a steeplechase gold medal being decided by a photo finish? So, I mean, once you go into the final, who knows?
True.
Right, Amit?
Also, sorry, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Avinash Sable's improvement. Uh, 5 years ago, I think the first time Avinash Sable ran a steeplechase competitively, his timing was somewhere around 9:12. The first time he set a national record, in just about a year's time from that time, it came down to 8:29. Currently, his national record stands at 8:12. So he's basically almost, cut down one whole minute in his time in 5 years. So all the interviews that he's given recently, especially after the Rabat Diamond League, he's kept mentioning that, when I started running, going down, the 8 meter mark was not something we even looked at remotely. But right now, given how fast my improvement has been, and he's somebody who's improved the national record 8 times already, uh, the 8 meter.
There is some technical glitch, but as Amit rightly mentioned, Sable has come a long way, and there are a lot of expectations from him. But as we were discussing about women's 20-kilometer race walk, we have a small package with regard to Goswami. So let's have a look at that.
Eugene is a place with athletic running through its DNA. And on the first day of the World Athletic Championships, India will see Priyanka Goswami participating in the women's 20-kilometer walk final. She represented India at the Tokyo Olympics, finishing on the 17th position. Priyanka has a personal best of 1 hour 28 minutes 45 seconds. Eugene would have perfect condition around 14 degrees centigrade in the afternoon when the 20-kilometer walk begins. But more than the conditions, it would be the intense competition that Priyanka is up against. 41 women walkers would be on the starting line. The ones to watch would be Yang Jiao, the 2017 world champion who finished a poor 12th in the Tokyo Olympics, but since then has bounced back with some good timings of 1:27:14. Sandra Arenas, the Olympic silver medalist from Colombia, is also in the reckoning, but her timings this year doesn't inspire much confidence. In fact, it's China's Ma Zhenzia who is tipped to win the event. The former world youth champion has clocked 1:28:03. Priyanka has had some good training since March 2021 when she clocked 1:28:45 at the National Race Walk Championships. The qualification time for the World Championships was 1:31:00. Hopefully, one would see an inspired Priyanka better her personal best and try for a top 6 position.
Along with Priyanka, there will be Sundeep Kumar in the 20-kilometer race walk final category for men's. And in the long jump category, we have India's Yahya and Johnson who will be taking part in Group A, and Sri Shankar would be taking part in Group B. Among these three, Sri Shankar has the best record of 8.36. So, can he make it to the finals of the event, Sundeep?
I think he has the best bet. I mean, in a long time, you have somebody who's not only qualifying, but he's doing well in terms of consistency. And European magazines, European newspapers are not very kind when it comes to Indian athletes. They don't pick them up so easily as to, okay, this athlete is going to stand out. But Sri Shankar has been picked up, as the one guy who probably might be on the podium. It's that environment, that atmosphere out there. I don't know how he's going to tackle that, because the pressure is going to be massive on Sri Shankar in that sense. The advantage here is that you have 3 jumpers. That's a big advantage in terms of team. If you are a lone guy out there, then there's a lot of things happening in your mind. Of course, all the 3 are different. Yahya out there, he's got the lowest mark among them. Then you have Jaswin, who's got number 2 in terms of the marks out there. Sri Shankar is right at the top. It will all depend on how he jumps his first 2, the confidence that he gets from there. and how much he is actually looking forward to this particular World Championships as a place where he can make a mark. That's how athletes operate. They look at particular championships, whether it's World Championships, whether it's Asian Games, whether it's Commonwealth Games, and they pick and choose that this is where I'm going to make a mark. Leave the CWG, I think if he makes a mark here, and going by what the predictions are, if he does his jumps properly, if there's no fouls and all of that, if he does anything which is 8:35 close, 8:36, which is already his best,
Yeah.
I think he'll have enough confidence to go for the 4th and the 5th jump where he can at least try and touch 8:44 or 8:40. I think anybody who does 8:45 plus 8:50 will be taking the gold and on the podium. So I think in that sense, it's a great opportunity for him.
Right. And Amit, what are you expecting from Yahya and Johnson?
Yeah, before I talk about those two guys, I just wanted to add a little bit to what Sundeep said. This is as he mentioned, that this is the first time that we have 3 jumpers in one competition. From whatever we've seen around them, there's also a massive camaraderie that these 3 share. At the Federation Cup earlier this year, there was, Sri Shankar won the national record, even though Jeswin Aldrin had a better jump, but it was wind assisted, which is why it is not counted as a national record. But even after the event, when we saw all those, both of them were like hanging out together for most of the time, which is very rare in Indian sport. When you have 2 guys right at the top, we usually don't see them, hanging out together. There is some sort of that, edge to their rivalry, but this is not that sort of a thing. So hopefully, when Jeswin Aldrin and Yahya are jumping, they'll have somebody like Sri Shankar guiding them, talking to them, helping them out mentally. And Sri Shankar is a guy who knows a little bit about how tough it can be. He went to the Doha World Championships in 2019, and he was far, far behind his personal best at the time. Then he went to Tokyo, and again he was far, far behind his personal best. So those 2 big ticket events and his own performances at those events have kind of, those are there at the back of his mind when he competes at these World Championships. So hopefully he can also keep talking to the other 2 jumpers, keep guiding them, telling them how to deal with the stress of a big ticket event, a World Championship.
Right, Amit. Next, let's discuss about the men's shot put qualification stages event. Tajinder Pal Singh Toor will be representing India. Sundeep, can he outclass the likes of Ryan Crosser, Joe Kovacs and Tom Welch?
No, I think we're asking for too much here. I mean, this is not a criticism of Toor, but 21.49, and trying to cross 22, 23, where Crowser, Kovacs, all these guys exist. I think that's going to be extremely difficult. If he can do 21.49, even something around it, and then probably look for a place in the final, I think that will be an achievement. Going into a shot put final into the World Championships is a massive high, and I think if Toor can do that, it'll be great. Though, if you really look at his record, you look at his numbers and all of that, his big ones really haven't come at the right time. And we hope that 21.49 becomes his big one here, and then that makes him climb a little higher. But to see a World Championships without Crowser on top, without Kovacs on top, without Walsh on top, though I feel Walsh may just move up, but 23 when Ryan Crowser is throwing, I mean, you can only look at it. So if Toor can stop looking at that and start looking at his own throw, maybe you might have a surprise there. But difficult to see anything in the top 6 right now, of course.
Right. Amit, what's your take on Toor?
When the squad for the World Championships was announced, I think there were questions on Toor's inclusion in the squad because since he's had that injury after Tokyo and he's gone into surgery, he's not been at his best. His season best also has not been anywhere close to his personal best. I think his season best is somewhere around 20.34, while his personal best is 21.49. So a medal obviously is, it's a little bit of a stretch maybe because Krauser, Kovacs and Walsh have all, they are right up there. And all 3 of them are competing at Oregon. So for him, it's going to be, shutting up the critics and telling them that, despite the injury, despite whatever the recovery phase that he's gone through after that surgery that he's had, he's still good enough to be among the top. And for him, the World Championships will be something that lays the base for him to go into the Olympics in 2024.
Right, Amit. Let's talk about the event that's the most exciting part of this athletic championship, 100-meter race, Sundeep. So the World Athletic Championship is starting, and the first big event will be 100-meter. So who could win the 100-meter race this time around, Sundeep?
Oh, well, I mean, let's see if Marcell Jacobs turns up or not, because that's the mystery area, But looking beyond Curly, looking beyond Bromwell and Christian Coleman is going to be very difficult. I do feel, and I would love it if Blake comes up. He's the 2011 world champion, and the moment he finished won his 5th national championships for Jamaica, I was really excited, because you've been seeing him constantly, and he's always been in the shadow of Bolt all these years, except for 2011. If he does something remarkable, and that remarkable is something that he can be consistent about, because you have the semi-finals and the final. Then that is if Blake gets into the semis. But honestly, at this point of time, if you can't look beyond Curly, you can't look beyond Bromwell, and you really can't look beyond Christian Coleman. Though I'll still feel Christian Coleman, 2019 world champion, couldn't go to Tokyo because of an issue with doping. He can still do something remarkable, because he has that ability. He has that ability from 50 meters to 100 to really accelerate. But at this point of time, Curly, with so many sub-10s that he's run this year, it's very, very difficult to see. I think you probably might see and feel that this is going to be a American sweep 1-2-3 that way.
We also have a package on 100 meters, so let's have a look at that.
Fred Curly is the man to beat in the 100 meters as he chases his first individual gold on the global stage. Many doubted his move from the 400 meters to the sprint, but that was justified when he won the silver medal in the 100 meters at the Tokyo Olympics in just 9.84 seconds. Curly has only improved in 2022, running sub-10 in all 7 of his 100 meters races, culminating in stunning back-to-back performances at the US Championships in Eugene's Hayward Field. In 2 hours, Curly ran a personal best 9.76 in the semi-finals and then clocked 9.77 in the final, the world's 2 fastest times this year. The US may possibly sweep the 100 meters medals. Other names like Trayvon Bromwell, Marvin Bressey and Christian Coleman. Coleman, the reigning world champion, ran 9.87 in the semi-finals at the US Championships before skipping the final by virtue of having a bye into the World Championships. Bromwell, who says he can run 9.60, predicts big things from the US 100-meter sprinters at the first World Championships in the US, but there would be plenty of challengers. The comeback of 32-year-old Johan Blake, the 2011 world champion, who ran 9.85 to win his 5th national 100 meters title, has aroused interest. Jamaica also has the 21-year-old Hardik Agrawal, who finished 2nd in the national championship in 9.88. However, there are too many questions around Olympic champion Marcell Jacobs, the Italian who stunned the track and field world last year, who stormed to the 100 meters gold in Tokyo. Will he be enough to contend for a medal at the World Championships? Looks uncertain at best.
That's it from this episode. Thank you so much, Sundeep and Amit. This was a fun chat. Watch out for this space. We'll be back with more interesting news, insights, facts and figures from the world of sports. Until then, keep watching News 9. This is Hardik Agrawal signing off.